Now, I want to ask you this question. Was your finding a product of a search, or was your finding based on a realization of loss so that in the presence of appearance, you said you had found? I hope you can catch that question, because that question there, right there, is where my analogy and my mentality towards finding is. There's two types of finding. There's the search to find, but there's also the recognition of absence, such that when you come into contact with that which was absent, you will say you found. It's the same. It's the same found you're using, the same word, but different in how it comes about. So, when the Bible says he who finds, where does it show us then, for instance, that the find was as a result of a search, as opposed a result of a recognition of absence, then contact and, aha, I found it. Ladies, sorry to pick on you today, but yeah. Ever been in a store and then your friend or your dude or your hubby asks you, what are you looking for? And you say, I don't know. I will know when I find it. So how can you go out looking for what you don't know and you'll know when you find it? It's almost as if you're taking a random chance at being present around options, okay, such that when you bump into something that could be the it, there's a certain recognition of, ding, I found it. That one we could argue and say there's a search, okay? But then it would go back to all these other questions of then, should a search be for something specific? Do I just go searching? If we're gonna talk of this last example as being an example of pursuit or finding, then my question is, so does a guy just go randomly into a shop of ladies, as an example, we had example, quote unquote, and then I will know when I find it type of thing? No. Part of this last statement I've just made is the whole notion of dating, and a lot of people have been broken by the notion of dating. Here in our African context, a whole lot of us, I think, have taken dating as exclusivity, but when you really look at it in its definition, dating is not so much exclusive. It's almost as if random individual experiences trying to see what fits you better. That's where the original concept of the word comes from. Okay, and what's happened with this is people have ended up finding themselves in places where there were too many attachments, or they've gotten hurt too many times, or hurt too many people too many times, etc., and the spiral is endless. Okay, so for me, when we come to the whole issue of finding, I'll leave it there for you as a question. I'm telling you that finding, I'll leave it there as a question for you to answer, but for me, I'm telling you that finding can either be a result of a search or a result of the recognition of absence, such that when you come into presence with it, or when you come into contact with it, you have found it. I'm sure that makes sense. I hope you're following. Okay, so now let's go back to the issue of pursuit. We'll do another video sometime later, and maybe I'll bring people in set so we can get different opinions and whatnot. But part of this whole pursuit has been the whole issue of a chase. Part of this whole pursuit has been this whole issue where you call the guy the hunter. You know, guys are hunters. They need to pursue. In fact, we have a friend who is so silly, wants to give this example. He's like, you know, it's like a lion chasing an impala. Then imagine the impala stops and jumps into the lion's mouth. He was like, if I was the lion, I would spit it out. I'd be like, run. I keep going. The idea is for me to catch you, not for you to jump into my mouth. And I guess such analogies and such thinking is the whole issue where the lady is like, no, the lady can't pursue, the lady can't be too obvious that she likes somebody and blah, 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 because it's supposed to be the guy, and yeah, what have you. My question is, who said that? Where did it all come from? Where did it start? Because sometimes some of these notions we take on is like the story of the fish that had to be cut in two. Okay, and it's where a couple comes together and they get married, and wifey is there and she's always slicing the fish into two. And one day hubby is like, why don't you give me the whole fish? And she's like, fish is supposed to be sliced in two. He's like, who told you? She's like, mom always sliced the fish in two. Let's go talk to mom. So one day they have a random conversation with mom. Mom, I sliced the fish in two. This guy seems to have a problem with it. Why do we slice the fish in half? Mom is like, I honestly really don't know. It was just always that way. So they say, let's go and ask grandma. They get to grandma and they ask grandma about why the fish is cut in two. And grandma is like, yo, we never had big pans back then. We had to cut the fish in two if it was going to fit on the pan at all. And then now you've got these people living in a third generation who have been held captive by a tradition, and they don't even understand the source of where it came from. So I ask you the question today: where did your thoughts on pursuit come from? Where did your mindset and the way you reason as far goes this whole ball game of pursuit, what the guy should do, what the guy can't do, what the lady should do, and all that, where did it come from?